Have you ever, amidst the hustle and bustle of life, suddenly stopped and asked yourself, when all the noise fades away, what will truly remain? When we're young, we live in a symphony of sounds. Laughter, tears, the call of grand aspirations. But then, time gently turns the pages of our lives, bringing an unexpected stillness. And in that silence, perhaps a profound question echoes, a voice from our own soul. Have I truly lived enough for myself? Welcome to Wisdom of Experience, where we explore the deeper layers of life's journey together. Today, we won't talk about clinging to youth or fighting against time. Instead, we'll embark on a more meaningful journey. The art of turning inward, listening, and living fully for ourselves in the autumn years of life. From the wisdom hidden in silence, and the freedom of letting go of the need for external validation, to the profound act of self-care. From building a foundation of financial peace, and embracing the changes of aging with gratitude, to nurturing heartfelt connections, finding joy in simple moments, keeping an open mind. And finally, embracing the unique legacy that your own life has woven. This isn't just advice, it's an invitation, a sharing of lessons learned through years, through stories, research, and profound contemplations on the human spirit. Stay with us as we discover how to make old age not just a phase, but a pinnacle of understanding and inner peace. This journey, perhaps, isn't just for those who have passed the halfway mark of life, but for anyone who yearns to live an authentic life. Part 1, The Wisdom of Silence. Silence isn't empty, it's space for understanding. In the noisy orchestra of life, especially in our youth, we often believe that power lies in words. The ability to persuade, assert, and influence. Society often celebrates the spoken word, eloquence, and sometimes, silence is equated with weakness, indifference, or even ignorance. But as the waves of time settle, we begin to realize a deeper truth. Silence isn't emptiness, but a space to listen, to observe. To understand ourselves and the world around us more subtly. Think of silence not just as the absence of external sound, but also as the stillness of the mind. Spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle have taught that in silence, we can hear the subtle sounds of life that we often miss in our daily rush. It's also a space for our deepest thoughts and suppressed emotions to rise to the surface of consciousness. Psychologist Carl Jung believed that much of the most important personal development occurs during periods of introversion and quiet reflection, separate from the clamor of the outside world. It was in this silence that he developed many of his core theories about depth psychology. The story of the elderly composer and the unfinished symphony. I'm reminded of the story of a famous composer who, at the peak of his career, suddenly retired into seclusion. Many speculated and mourned his absence. Years later, in a rare interview, he shared, "In my youth, I wrote music from what I wanted the world to hear. But as I grew older, I realized I needed to listen to what the universe was whispering. I needed silence to hear the real music within me, the music that no loud note could express." For him, silence wasn't the end of his career, but the beginning of a deeper dialogue with his own source of inspiration. It's similar to research that shows stillness can boost activity in the brain's hippocampus, which is involved in memory formation and learning, allowing us to process information more deeply. Personal perspective, silence is the power of choice. With my experience working with the human mind, I've found that silence is a skill, a conscious choice. It's not passive resignation, but an active effort to create space for clarity. When faced with an argument, silence allows us to step back, observe the real motivations behind our words and those of others, instead of reacting instinctively. When facing a difficult decision, silence helps us connect with our intuition, with the inner voice often drowned out by noisy reason. The exercise of sitting quietly for 10 minutes each day isn't just for relaxation. It's an opportunity to practice active listening with ourselves. Initially, the mind may still be racing, but gradually, you'll learn not to get carried away by the stream of thoughts, but simply to observe them. And in that quiet space, the answers to big questions often come on their own, not with a resounding sound, but with a gentle, profound awareness. Silence is the power of presence, of knowing when to speak and, more importantly, when to listen. Part 2, letting go of the need for approval. Breaking free from the chains of others' opinions. One of the greatest invisible burdens we carry throughout our lives is the desire to be recognized, praised, and approved by others. From a young age, we learn to adjust our behavior to please parents and teachers. As adults, that pressure shifts to friends, colleagues, and society as a whole. We measure our self-worth through compliments, likes, and promotions. But the video touches on a liberating truth. In old age, the truly meaningful journey is to return to self-approval. Letting go of the chains of others' opinions. The need for approval is a fundamental part of human nature, stemming from the need to belong and be loved. However, when it becomes the primary driving force in our lives, it can lead to exhaustion, disorientation, and a loss of our true identity. Psychologists in the self-determination theory, like Deci and Ryan, have shown that happiness and sustainable growth come from satisfying core psychological needs. Autonomy, competence, and relatedness, rather than chasing external rewards like recognition. When motivation comes from within, intrinsic motivation, doing something because you enjoy it or find it meaningful, we feel much more satisfied and free. The story of Van Gogh and internal validation. Consider the life of Vincent van Gogh. He lived in poverty, struggled with mental health, and sold almost no paintings during his lifetime. The outside world did not recognize his talent. Yet, he continued to paint, passionately and almost obsessively. His motivation didn't come from the hope of praise, but from an intense inner drive, from the need to express his rich and emotional inner world through color and brushstrokes. Although his life was tragic, it was his loyalty to his inner artistic voice, despite external indifference, that created timeless masterpieces. He is an extreme but powerful example of how true value lies not in the recognition of the crowd, but in being true to oneself. Personal perspective, building an inner compass. The journey of letting go of the need for approval isn't easy. It requires self-awareness and courage. I too have gone through periods of craving praise, feeling hurt when ignored or criticized. But gradually, I realized that giving others the power to decide my worth is an abdication of my own autonomy. I began to practice self-assessment based on my core values. Have I lived according to my beliefs? Have I tried my best? Have I treated myself and others with kindness? Keeping a journal that isn't meant for others to read, as mentioned, is a great way to practice this. It creates a private space to have a dialogue with yourself, to acknowledge small achievements and quiet efforts without the need for external applause. Letting go of the need for approval doesn't mean becoming distant or arrogant. It means building a solid, inner compass so that you know who you are and where you're going, no matter which way the winds of public opinion blow. In old age, when social roles may change, this inner compass becomes more important than ever, helping you maintain inner peace and confidence. Part 3, Focusing on Self-Care. Self-care isn't selfish, it's the foundation of life. The video emphasizes the importance of self-care in old age. And this needs to be understood deeply and holistically. Self-care isn't just about luxurious activities like going to a spa or taking a vacation. It's a collection of daily choices and behaviors aimed at protecting and nurturing our physical, mental, and emotional health. In a culture that often praises sacrifice and putting others' needs first, prioritizing self-care is sometimes seen as selfish. But I believe, and many psychological studies confirm, that self-care is a prerequisite for us to live a meaningful life and contribute positively to others. You can't pour from an empty cup. Self-care in old age isn't just about extending lifespan, but more importantly, about improving the quality of the remaining years. The concept of health span rather than just lifespan. This includes physical, not just healthy eating and exercise, though very important, but also listening to your body, getting enough rest, regular checkups, and managing chronic conditions. Mental, keeping your mind active through learning, reading, puzzles, and engaging in intellectual activities. But also includes practicing mindfulness, reducing stress, and finding inner peace. Emotional, allowing yourself to feel and express emotions in a healthy way, setting boundaries with toxic people or situations, seeking support when needed, and practicing self-compassion. Social and spiritual, nurturing meaningful relationships, participating in community activities, and connecting with what brings deeper meaning and purpose to your life. This could be religion, spirituality, nature, art. Blue zones research and lessons from the longest-lived people. Research on blue zones. Regions where people live exceptionally long and healthy lives, such as Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Loma Linda in California, has provided compelling evidence for the power of an integrated self-care lifestyle. Dan Buettner and his research team have identified common factors including a predominantly plant-based diet, regular natural movement, not necessarily the gym, a clear sense of purpose, ikigai, in Okinawa, effective stress reduction strategies, and strong supportive social networks. These are all manifestations of holistic and sustainable self-care. Personal perspective. Self-care is an act of honoring life. My personal experience facing burnout from work taught me an unforgettable lesson. Health is the most precious asset, and no one can take better care of it than yourself. Neglecting yourself not only affects your health but also reduces your ability to enjoy life and be fully present with the people you love. In old age, self-care shouldn't be seen as a burden or a must-do, but as an act of honoring the gift of life we've been given. Think of your body and mind as a garden. It needs watering, nutrition, rest, weeding, removing stress, negative thoughts, fertilizing, nurturing the mind and emotions, and basking in the sunlight, joy, connection. A well-tended garden will bloom brilliantly, regardless of age. Self-care is the art of gardening for your own soul and body. Part 4. Ensuring financial independence. Money isn't the goal, it's a tool for freedom and peace. When talking about living for yourself in old age, financial independence emerges as a fundamental element, not because it buys happiness, but because it provides freedom of choice and peace of mind. The video reminds us of the importance of this, and from a psychological perspective, I see how financial dependence can cause deep wounds to a person's self-esteem and sense of autonomy, especially in older adults. Worrying about money can cast a dark shadow over years that should be enjoyed with peace. Financial independence in old age doesn't necessarily mean being wealthy. It means having enough resources to cover basic needs, housing, food, healthcare, without being completely dependent on children or subsidies. Having the ability to make decisions about your own life. And having a reserve for unexpected situations. This peace of mind frees up mental energy to focus on other aspects of life such as health, relationships, and personal growth. Lessons from crises and the importance of preparation. Global economic crises, such as the 2008 financial crisis, have clearly shown the fragility of personal finances without preparation. Many people nearing retirement age lost a large portion of their savings, facing a difficult old age. These events highlight the importance of financial planning early on, diversifying investments, and understanding risk. However, it also shows the resilience and adaptability of humans. Many have had to learn to live more simply, seek new sources of income, or adjust their retirement expectations. Personal perspective. Planning is freeing the future. Witnessing older adults struggling due to a lack of financial preparation is a powerful wake-up call for me. I realize that financial planning isn't a selfish act or an obsession with money, but a responsible act towards oneself and one's future. It's a way to reduce a major source of worry and create space for peace. Even if you're older and haven't prepared well, it's never too late to start. Please assess realistically, understand your current income, expenses, and assets. Budget. Identify essential expenses and cut back on non-essentials. Living more simply often brings unexpected benefits. Know your entitlements, understand your pension, benefits, and health insurance. Consider additional income streams, if possible, and desired part-time work, renting out property, turning hobbies into small income sources. Seek advice. If needed, financial professionals can help you make decisions that fit your specific circumstances. Most importantly, face your financial reality honestly and proactively seek solutions. Financial independence, at any level, brings a sense of control and dignity, allowing you to live your old age with serenity instead of fear. Part 5. Accepting the changes of old age. Embracing the journey, the beauty of transformation. The fear of old age is one of the most common and deepest human fears. We fear losing our health, our clarity of mind, our appearance, and ultimately, our lives. Modern society, with its worship of youth, exacerbates this fear. However, the video offers a powerful invitation. Accept old age not as a sad decline, but as a natural and inevitable stage of life, carrying its own beauty and wisdom. Acceptance here doesn't mean giving up on efforts to maintain health or surrendering to difficulties. It means acknowledging the reality of change with compassion and understanding, instead of resisting in vain. Psychologist Carl Rogers called this unconditional positive regard, but applied to ourselves in the aging process. It's about loving and respecting the person we are becoming, with all the wrinkles, new limitations, and the rich experiences that age brings. Research on happiness and old age, the U-shaped curve. An interesting and hopeful finding from large-scale happiness studies is the U-shaped happiness curve. Many studies across different countries show that average happiness levels are typically high in youth, gradually decline and bottom out in middle age, around 40 to 50. And then significantly increase again in old age. Although physical health may decline, older adults often have better emotional regulation, are less affected by daily stress. Focus more on the positivity effect, and have a deeper perspective on life. This suggests that old age isn't necessarily a period of gloom, but can be a time of greater peace and contentment if we learn to accept and adapt. The story of actress Judi Dench, still shining with new limitations. British actress Dame Judi Dench is an icon of gracefully and vibrantly accepting old age. She faces macular degeneration, which severely impairs her vision, greatly affecting her ability to read scripts. Instead of giving up her career, she learned to adapt. Having friends read scripts to her, learning lines by listening repeatedly. She speaks frankly about the difficulties of old age but doesn't let them define her. She continues to act in films, win awards, and inspire with her optimism and humor. She accepts her new limitations but never stops finding ways to live a full life within those limitations. Personal perspective. Acceptance is the door to freedom. The battle against old age is a battle we are sure to lose. Resistance only brings suffering and makes us miss the gifts that this stage offers. I too have had fears about aging. But I've learned that instead of focusing on what's lost, focus on what you gain. The wisdom accumulated from experience, freedom from the pressures of youth, time to pursue true passions, and the opportunity to look back on life with a broader perspective. Every wrinkle is a map of smiles, tears, and past worries. Every gray hair is a testament to the long journey traveled. Accepting them isn't weakness, but the courage to face reality and love yourself in every moment. When we stop fighting time, we are truly free to live fully in the present and cherish each remaining day of this unique journey. Part 6. Selecting and nurturing meaningful relationships. Quality over quantity, your inner circle. When we are young, we often expand our social network. Sometimes out of necessity for work, status, or simply the fear of loneliness. But old age brings a different kind of wisdom. Realizing that our energy is finite and precious. The video implies that instead of maintaining superficial relationships, we should focus on cultivating genuine connections that nourish the soul. This isn't selfish, but self-respect. In developmental psychology, researchers like Laura Carstensen with her socio-emotional selectivity theory have shown that as the perception of remaining time changes, as in old age, people tend to prioritize emotionally meaningful goals. They no longer invest in relationships that only offer superficial benefits but focus on those who bring warmth, understanding, and genuine joy. That's why older people often have fewer friends, but the relationships they have are deeper and of higher quality. The story of Professor N, narrowing down for depth. I once knew Professor N, a brilliant social scientist. In his youth, he attended countless conferences and parties, always trying to expand his network. But after the age of 70, he almost disappeared from large events. Instead, he spent time with his close friends from his university days, playing chess, drinking tea, and conversing. He also spent many weekend afternoons just playing with his grandchildren. When I asked him about this change, he smiled. When I was young, I tried to know many people. Now, I just want to deeply understand the few most important ones. My energy is no longer enough to spread thin, I want to use it for what truly warms my heart. He consciously practiced social pruning, not out of isolation, but for the sake of depth. Personal perspective, boundaries are love. Selecting relationships also goes hand in hand with setting boundaries. In old age, you have the right to refuse requests and encounters that exhaust you or are no longer suitable. I've learned that saying no gently isn't rejecting others, but affirming your own needs. It's an act of self-love. When you only keep people who truly respect your time and energy, the remaining relationships will become much richer and more sincere. Remember, your circle of friends may shrink, but it will be stronger and warmer. Part 7, Finding Joy in Simplicity and the Present. Happiness isn't far away, the art of slow living. Modern society worships speed and achievement. We are constantly encouraged to do more, achieve more. But the video suggests a different path in old age. Finding joy in the simple things, in the present moment. When the pace slows down, we have the opportunity to recognize the hidden beauty in seemingly ordinary things. Happiness studies, such as the work of Ed Diener, show that frequent positive experiences, no matter how small, contribute more to overall happiness than large but rare events. Buddhist philosophy also emphasizes the importance of mindfulness. Fully focusing on the present without judgment. Practicing mindfulness helps us escape the regrets of the past or worries about the future and truly live in this moment. The story of the elderly potter, beauty in every breath of clay. I had the chance to talk with a potter who was over 80 years old. He no longer created large, elaborate works like he used to. Instead, he spent the whole day carefully shaping a few small teacups. He said, "My joy is no longer in the final product, but in the feeling of my hands touching the clay, in its transformation under the kiln's heat, in the random flow of the glaze. Each cup is a silent conversation." He found fulfillment in the process itself, in every small detail that he might have overlooked in his youth while chasing fame. This is the embodiment of slow living and finding joy in simplicity. Personal perspective, awakening the senses. I believe the key to enjoying simplicity is to reawaken the senses that we often neglect. Try a day without rushing. Truly taste the sweetness of your morning tea, feel the gentle breeze on your skin. Listen to the birds singing outside the window, watch the sunlight filtering through the leaves. When you are truly present, you will realize that life is always full of small wonders. Mindfulness doesn't have to be sitting in meditation for hours. It can be the attention you give while gardening, cooking, or simply taking a walk. In old age, when time seems to pass more quickly, anchoring yourself in the present is a way to lengthen and enrich each moment. Part 8, Continuing to Learn and Nurturing Curiosity. The brain never rests, keeping your mind young. Many people mistakenly believe that old age means stopping learning, that the brain has frozen. But modern neuroscience has proven the opposite. The concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and restructure itself, shows that the brain can still change, learn, and create new neural connections throughout life, as long as we continue to stimulate it. The video encourages maintaining curiosity and a learning spirit as an important part of living for yourself in old age. The famous Nun study by David Snowden is a powerful example. The study followed hundreds of nuns for decades and showed that those who engaged in active intellectual activities, reading, writing, debating, learning languages, had a significantly lower risk of Alzheimer's disease, and maintained better cognitive function as they aged. Learning is not only good for the brain but also brings a sense of meaning and joy. The story of Mrs. Tam, learning piano at 75. Mrs. Tam, a retired accountant, had always dreamed of playing the piano since she was a child. But a busy life didn't allow it. At the age of 75, after reading an article about the benefits of music for the elderly brain, she decided to enroll in piano lessons for seniors. Initially, she was very shy and felt her fingers were stiff. But she diligently practiced every day, not to become a concert pianist, but just for the joy of hearing the notes sound under her fingers. Learning something new makes me feel like I'm still alive, still growing, she shared. It also helps me be more patient with myself. Her brain was being challenged, and her soul was being nourished. Personal perspective: curiosity is a fountain of youth. For me, curiosity is one of the most effective anti-aging remedies. When you stop being curious, you start to truly age, regardless of your chronological age. In old age, learning doesn't have to be about degrees or careers. Learn what you truly love. A new language, how to garden organically, art history, or how to use a computer to connect with your children and grandchildren. Read books, watch documentaries, join clubs, or simply talk to people who have different knowledge than you. Keeping your mind active and always exploring not only helps protect cognitive health but also keeps life interesting and vibrant. Part 9. Embracing your personal legacy and sharing wisdom. Looking back with gratitude, legacy isn't just material. As we enter the final stage of life, reflecting on the journey we've taken and the legacy we leave behind is a natural need. The video suggests that legacy isn't necessarily about vast wealth or great fame. True legacy lies in the values you've lived by, the lessons you've learned, the love you've given, and the influences, however small, you've had on the world around you. Embracing your personal legacy means looking back on your life with compassion and acceptance, including both successes and failures. Psychologist Erik Erikson described the final stage of life as the struggle between ego integrity versus despair. Achieving integrity means accepting your life as it has been, feeling that it has been meaningful, and not regretting what cannot be changed. Consciously engaging in life review, through writing, talking, or reflecting, can help strengthen this sense of integrity and bring deep peace. The story of Mr. Min, writing letters to the future. Mr. Min, a retired engineer, didn't have significant assets to leave his children and grandchildren. He felt he hadn't accomplished anything lasting. After talking, I suggested he write down his life stories, the lessons he learned from difficulties, and the values he always cherished. He started writing letters, not just recounting the past but also sharing his thoughts on life, love, and work, sending them to his grandchildren as messages for the future. "When I write, I realize my life wasn't meaningless," he said. "My legacy isn't money, but these experiences, these things I believe in." This act not only helped him find meaning but also created a precious connection between generations. Personal perspective: becoming a keeper of the flame. I believe one of the most beautiful roles of old age is to become a sharer of wisdom. A keeper of the flame of experience for the next generation. This wisdom doesn't come from books, but from your own life experiences, your stumbles, and your recoveries. You don't have to be a sage to share. Tell your stories, listen to young people, offer advice when asked, and simply live according to the values you believe in. Your legacy is the person you have become after a long journey. Embracing and sharing it not only enriches others but also brings profound meaning to your own final years. So, we've journeyed together through a profound contemplation, exploring the art of living for ourselves as time sprinkles silver in our hair and etches the marks of maturity on our souls. We've seen that silence isn't empty, but space for understanding. Letting go of the need for approval frees yourself from invisible chains. Self-care is an act of honoring the gift of life. Financial independence is the foundation for freedom and peace. Accepting changes is embracing the beauty of each stage of life. Nurturing heartfelt connections, finding joy in the simple present, keeping the mind curious, and embracing your personal legacy, all are pieces that create a colorful and meaningful picture of old age, vibrant from within. The journey back to yourself in old age isn't a retreat, but a sublimation. A sublimation of wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. It's when we realize that the greatest value lies not in what we possess or what others think of us, but in the person we have become over the years. Remember, your experience is a treasure. Your story deserves to be heard, first and foremost by yourself. Old age isn't the end point, but a new chapter where you can live slower, deeper, and more authentically with yourself. Wisdom of Experience hopes that today's sharing has touched something within you, bringing a new perspective, a source of inspiration, or simply a sense of empathy. What in this journey resonates with you the most? Do you have any experiences or lessons you'd like to share about living for yourself in old age? Please leave a comment below. Let's build a community of listening and sharing wisdom together. If you found this video meaningful, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the Wisdom of Experience channel. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next contemplative journeys. Sharing this video is also a way to spread these meaningful messages to more people.